Broadcast on, podium on. We'll call this meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Alvarez. Here. Councilmember Clark.
Here.
Councilmember Todd is absent. Councilmember Saper.
Here.
Councilmember McGrone.
Here.
Councilmember Smith is absent. And Councilmember Fitzgerald.
Here. Thank you. This evening, Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Councilmember Alvarez. Fantastic. All right, I'll go ahead and announce it now. Right, approve the agenda's next item. I'm going to remove number 9 from the agenda for tonight, and I'll bring it back in 2 weeks. They're working on some minor changes in their bylaws. So there we go. Now it asks for a motion for the approval of an amended
Move to
agenda.
approve the amended agenda.
Second.
All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, say no. Motion carries. Next item, presentation of Missouri Professional City Clerk designation to Crystal Doss. I couldn't make you read your own item. Yeah.
He's excited. Oh, God. All right. Good evening, Mayor DeLong and members of the City Council. Most of you know me as the Deputy City Clerk. However, tonight I'm here as the President of the Western Division of the Missouri City Clerks and Finance Officers Association. It is an honor to stand before you this evening to recognize an individual whose dedication and commitment to public service have earned her one of the highest honors in her profession. This evening, we recognize Crystal Doss as she receives the prestigious Missouri Professional City Clerk designation from the Missouri City Clerks and Finance Officers Association. The role of a city clerk is not just a job. It is a responsibility and a privilege. City clerks are the unsung heroes who ensure that the wheels of local government turn smoothly, that public records are maintained, and that the democratic processes, such as elections, function with integrity. Crystal began her career in public service as the city clerk for the city of Richmond, Missouri. In 2013, she was hired in North Kansas City as the Public Works Administrative Assistant and has gone on to be your city clerk. Crystal's commitment to continuous learning and professional development is evident in her pursuit of this esteemed designation. The Missouri Professional City Clerk designation is a testament to Crystal's dedication to the city clerk profession. It signifies a level of proficiency and professionalism that sets her apart as a leader in the field. Crystal Doss has worked very hard to attain this professional city clerk certification. This certification is a combination of both education and experience, and Crystal is to be commended for her perseverance in achieving this goal. As elected officials, you are to be commended in your continued support of Crystal as she has worked toward this certification. It demonstrates that you recognize that the knowledge she receives at the state, local, and international education sessions is of great benefit to you, other city staff, and the citizens of North Kansas City, Missouri. On behalf of the Missouri City Clerks and Finance Officers Association, I am pleased to present Crystal Doss with the Missouri Professional City Clerk designation. Please join me in applauding Crystal as she accepts this honorable designation.
We're doing awkward with me in the middle here in the back.
You guys want to get up and,
Or you want to come up here or us come down here? All right, there we go. Yes. Wow. Yeah. Gotta get background either way.
okay, 1, 2, 3.
There we go. We don't have any cookies or punch or anything for this?
Really?
Unbelievable. I know, I'm getting hungry already. Congratulations, Crystal. And Mallory, thank you for presenting. Next item, number 6, comments from the public. Anyone from the public wishing to speak, please step up to the podium at this time. There we go. You got it.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Chuck Bird with Jim's Disposal Service. Wanted to come and address the renewal of the contract. And so I know I sent out letters to everyone, but I wanted to personally come and kind of give you an overview of the reason why we are wanting to not renew at this time and have some conversation in regards to that. We have I think it's a 5-year contract with renewable year options. We are in the renewal stage at this point. A year ago, we had conversations with administration in regards to possibly looking at going to once-a-week service versus the twice-a-week service. And the reason being because since COVID, everything has gone up. That's one of the slippery slopes when you get into long contracts and you have something to happen like COVID-19. And it had a tremendous impact on our industry because everything went up, like everything else does, the fuel and labor and all the other things. And so when we started looking at it and the percentages that's plugged into the contract, one of the things we offered on the front end of the contract was the RRI. That's the Refuse Rate Index that we use in this industry. And what it does, it kind of right sizes based on the economy. And so when you have something like COVID that happens out of everyone's control, and it's based on the economy. And so it goes up. Sometimes it's in the contractor's favor, then sometimes it's in favor of the municipality. It's based on the economy. But when you have locked in a certain percentage, you can't come back and say, hey, we need to raise the rate because it's not there. You can't do it, and so you have to roll with it. And so we've been absorbing that for quite some time. And so now, with everything that's going on in the industry, I shared with the administration that they're getting ready to impose a hosting fee to all landfills and transfer stations within the greater Kansas City metropolitan area. And that fee is anywhere from $1 to $5 per ton. And that's going to have a tremendous impact, not just on my company, but anybody else that's in the solid waste industry. And so we looked at our numbers, and that was the reason why we said that it's not in our best interest to do a renewal at this time without having some discussion in regards to our service. We have enjoyed the relationship with North Kansas City. Even though we were hit with financial issues, we continue to provide the service to the residents that we agreed to across the board, not just the curbside service, but the other services with roll-offs and bulky pickup. So we continue to deliver the service because that's what we agreed to. But looking at big picture and what's on the horizon, it's not in our best interest to continue to do what we're doing right now and expect to continue to provide the service to the residents of North Kansas City. So that's the reason why we are saying that we were not in favor of renewing at this time without having some discussion. Be more than happy to answer any other questions that you guys have. I know we only have 5 minutes, but I wanted to personally come and address it.
Thank you. Further comments? Public comment? Yep. Good evening.
How you guys doing tonight? Cool beans. So my name is Corporal McFadden. I'm with the Missouri National Guard, and I'm a recruiter at the North Oak front office. And I just wanted to come up to the city council meeting and just kind of basically pick your brains and see what type of community events or organizations the Missouri National Guard can collab and just ultimately help the community, but help us at the same time. Because I'm an RNCO, I'm a recruiting and retention non-commissioned officer. And that's what I tend to do. That's what I believe in what the National Guard is. It's about the community, it's about the people, and I just want to be the basis for that. So I just would look at you guys face value and see what we got working with. So I appreciate your time, and if you have any questions for me, I'm here. Crystal does have my email, so we can all be in contact and just keep talking. So thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you being here tonight. Thank you. Further public comments? Going once, going twice. No more. We're done. Boom. Item number 7. Crystal.
Budget discussion.
All right, we're getting there. All right, sorry for the delay, members of the council and Mayor DeLong. It's long awaited by some staff, I think, but first opportunity to step through the proposed fiscal year 2025 budget with all of you. Tonight we'll kind of go through. We know you just received it 2 weeks ago. But our plan tonight is to, each department head kind of step through their area, highlight 3 or so parts of their budget, and then, of course, be available for take questions from any of you. I'm going to start off, though, just a summary. You have the transmittal letter. I'm not going to read through the whole transmittal letter for all of you, but just some of the highlights that you're going to hear tonight. One of the things we focused on was deficit, especially the general fund. If you'll remember last year, or for this year, it was budgeted at $4 million. For 2025, we've got that down to 2.5. We know it's not all the way to 0, but we'll continue to work on that. But some of the things, like I said, you'll hear sales tax. We're budgeting an increase of 19%. Nick will talk a little bit more about that here pretty quick. Administrative fees are something that is up 18%. That's something we've done different this year. One of the things that I wanted to focus on was allocating wages where they're actually, where they work. And for instance, and mainly in, I say it's all general fund, with the exception of water distribution. Water distribution works on, the water lines, but also the sewer lines. They're the distribution department. So we've actually taken their wages and split them between water and sewer, where they put their time towards. Some of the staff at the front window, they do a lot of time with water, sewer, with utility billing. So a portion of their wages have gone there. I think, one of the biggest examples would also be Casey Campbell, our HR manager. So, her time is proportionate to where we have all the employees. So again, we've taken certain staff's time, Nick, some in the finance department, some administration, Anthony with Public Works Administration, himself, and his 2 staff that are in that department. We've basically quartered between water, sewer, transportation, and then general fund with buildings and grounds. Those are their departments. That's where he spends a lot of his time. So that's a longer explanation of the administrative fees, but why they've increased. But it's to help cover costs where the time's spent. A little more realistic picture of that. So another thing that you'll hear about salaries tonight. Just a tidbit: 77% of the general fund is personnel-related cost. I mean, we've mentioned that before, but that's a big part of it. Of course, most of our employees are in the personnel fund. Again, I hit on the deficit. Fund balance, it's beginning the fiscal year 2025, or ending this current year. We're projecting 95% fund balance. With that deficit, that would take us down to 8.3 or 83.34% fund balance. We've worked through this, developing the budget, and well, we don't want to. At some point that'll go away if we continue with deficits, but we feel good about where we've come from this current year to the next year. Again, another thing you'll probably hear about. And department heads will go through it, but I did want to point out the KCATA, we bumped from $580,000 this year with the amended budget to $800,000. That's not knowing what the end of this year is going to bring, but the total costs were higher. So things that'll come up, and we're ready for questions for. But with that, I think I'll hand it off to Nick, and we'll get going on this.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. I'm going to do a fairly high-level budget overview and just walk through a couple of the opening sections of the budget, and then we'll jump to the departments, starting with library and parks tonight. So as Mike and Kim mentioned a couple weeks ago, this budget is flexible. You're not looking at probably what the final version is going to look like. There will be amendments up until the point when it's adopted. This is your budget now, and so we look forward to questions, comments, more information that you would like to see throughout the process. So again, tonight is just an overview, and we've built it to be flexible, so if we hit a stopping point or you feel like you need to stop and continue the conversation, we have at least 3 to 4 more sessions that we can talk about this too. And if we hear anything tonight that warrants some further discussion at another meeting, we'll prepare and try and have more discussion on those as we go along. Following along with that, we'll also document any changes and questions that you have and put forward a document for you so that when we get to the time of adoption, hopefully you will feel that you've got all of your questions answered and you feel comfortable with the budget. Our very next opportunity, I'll say this, and I think we'll probably say it in staff comments too, we have the Bounce and Balance event Saturday, the July 27th from 9 to 11 over at the Parks Administration Building. And that will be an opportunity for the public to come out. There will be various trucks and other things like that from the departments, and that's really a good general session to just know how this budget is put together and the different things that a city pays for every year. So I'm going to talk a little bit about revenues and expenses right now. This budget is built based on our current year projections and our long-term forecasting that we've discussed with the City Council over the last couple of years. When we look at the general fund, on the revenue side, one of the things that we've done the last couple of years is we've been kind of intentionally conservative, thinking, if we hit a recession or anything like that, this is what the revenues could do. This year, what we are looking at is more of a, this is what, based on our projections, this is where we think we will end up. So I'm going to scroll down here. We've had a couple areas that have increased the most, as Mike mentioned, sales tax. That's budgeted to go up 19%, but that's really in line with what we've collected over the last 2 years. So in 21 and 22, we saw double-digit increases after we saw a 3% drop in 2020. And but for the last 2 years, including this year, we're tracking to, on the general 1%, collect about $5 million, maybe a little bit more than that. But I think right now we're slightly under 1% where we were at the same time last year. So I feel fairly comfortable with that projection.
So, sorry, I'll stop you right there real quick. So right now our projected budget, never mind. That's updated now. I see it's at 7.5. Okay. Thank you. Sorry.
So, yeah. And
Could I ask one question? This might be something that you could come back with, but I see when you talk about your projected versus actuals, a lot of the time we only see the actuals for past years, and I think it would be really helpful if we could see projected for 21, actual for 21, projected for 22, actual for 22, so that we can understand how good we are at projecting. Because right now, the only projection that I see is for 24, and I don't know what those, how that worked out for the previous years.
sure, we can work on that.
Thank you.
So another area where we've increased is on our, and then again, these are budgeted increases that more closely align with what we've actually collected. Our surtax, which gets collected along with property taxes, that for the last couple of years has been up pretty high. There is a reduction through Proposition A that will decrease that by 10%, but still overall, we expect that we'll collect more than what we've been budgeting for that. Also, we've kind of renewed our investment portfolio, and that has resulted in higher interest earnings and higher projected interest earnings going forward.
So related to the surtax, is that just due to an increase in overall values of the properties that went up with it? And so that's why
Yes,
it went
and
up beyond? Okay.
It's calculated just a little bit differently than regular property
Yeah.
taxes. We've always kind of just held it in line with where the property taxes go,
Mm-hmm.
but it routinely collects more than what we budget. And so going in line with budgeting closer to actuals,
Yeah.
felt it was appropriate to.
So we'll still see some negative impact to where we probably would have been had it
Right,
not passed, but we're
right.
still doing better than we.
Yes,
Word.
exactly,
Okay.
exactly.
Thank you.
And a lot of the other funds that we have are built based on either the property tax, like you'll hear Library and Parks Neck, they have a significant portion of their budget that are due to their levy. Parks now has the sales tax that is also collected in the transportation fund, and we've updated those to reflect actual collections. So I feel like our revenue picture going into the next year is probably, it's a little bit more aggressive than what we've seen, and that's based off of the last couple of years. Our revenue has kind of held steady at these points, and so we feel comfortable putting that in our projections and in the proposed budget. On the expenditure side, I'm not going to spend too much time because the departments will go through and walk through that. But as Mike said, we'll jump into some general fund departments here in a moment. A lot of the general fund is personnel based. So our expenses are still conservative. We budget as if every position is filled, including current vacant positions, and that they're filled throughout the entire year. We generally do see some savings in that, and we can get better projections as we get halfway through the year and see this department's been running with 2 vacancies, and so they're projecting to fill it, and we can incorporate that into our projections. But generally, when we see that gap close, it's because we have salary savings or healthcare savings, a lot of personnel-related things. But with that, there are some big assumptions that we're making in the budget based on conversations with our partners. So overall, based on what we're currently spending on healthcare, we're anticipating an 11% increase. That doesn't necessarily show as an 11% increase budget to budget, but that's actuals to next year's budget. And that's what we've gotten back from our partners at Blue Cross Blue Shield. We're continuing to see, and this has been a trend for the last 2 years, our general liability property insurance. The last quote that we got projected a 20 to 25% increase on those, and so we've put in 25% over what we paid out in November of last year.
Let me ask on the health insurance. So is that the total cost to us as employer and the employee? That's the
Yes.
total cost
Yeah.
of insurance is going up 10%,
So-
but we're still going to allocate it at the same
We'll still
percentage?
allocate it the same,
Okay.
and sorry for interrupting on that, I
Yeah.
apologize. Casey will correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's an 80-20.
That's what I thought, but I
split,
couldn't
yeah.
remember off the top of my head.
And that it's budgeted to continue that way.
Okay.
And then, Mike mentioned the salary, so for non-union or non-collective bargaining employees, we have it built in right now, 3%. And then I think the police is going into their last year, 2025 would be the last year, I think, of the bargaining, but that is built into the budget, what that contract had. And then the IAFF collective bargaining has not started yet, so we have just basically a placeholder figure in there, and that will be discussed in the coming months. So those are the primary things. Again, this is an opening, and we're happy to discuss any questions as we get through the department budgets. They'll go more in depth on the expenditure side and some of the opportunities and challenges there. If there's anything that we need to pause and get more information on, we have that ability to go and do that in just a appreciate any questions, concerns, ideas that you have as we go through this process. If there are any questions right now, I'm happy.
Can you switch back to the, I believe, transmittal letter real quick?
Yeah.
Where the dates are at the bottom.
Oh,
Just
yes,
so everyone
absolutely.
is
Yep.
yeah, just to your last point
Yes.
there. Yeah, so everyone's aware. Obviously, this is often us learning, a lot more in depth about the budget for the first time. So we'll have a lot of opportunity, as you see through these dates here, to bring stuff back to staff, ask additional questions, suggest changes, all the above. So yeah, plenty of opportunities, but obviously we have that target date of absolute last date, I think, of the second meeting in September, because we want to get this approved before October 1st.
Thank you for pointing that
Yeah.
out. One other thing that changed when Clay County became a charter county, but I will mention this right now too, is we generally do not get our valuations from Clay County until the middle of September, and we have a hard deadline to turn those around and set the property tax before October 1st. So I don't think this is a reevaluation year. I could be wrong on that, but assuming we get it at the same time frame that we've had the last couple of years, we may need to call a special session just to approve those rates. But I'm thinking optimistically and putting that on the 17th in the transmittal letter.
Perfect.
We also have to do that 7 days in advance and have it in the newspaper, so there's a number of steps that we have to take to get to that point where we can set it.
Oh, yeah, please continue.
Okay. So we're going to jump into the department highlights right now. And as we've kind of done in the past, we bump up library and parks. So they're going to be our first two. And I think I'll go with Lori Mangan, who's the director of the North Kansas City Library.
Hello. Hi. I'm Lori. I'm with the North Kansas City Public Library. Oh, can you not hear me?
You are on.
I'm
Yes,
afraid
you are.
to make it really loud. Okay, is that okay?
Sound good to me.
Okay. So our budget was approved last night by the library board, and I was just going to go over a couple things. Our budget doesn't typically change a whole lot. We pretty much keep it the same. There's a couple things that have seen increases in this year's. Of course, payroll and benefits. We like to try to increase those every year. We did see an increase in the administrative fees from the city, and we're happy to pay for that. And it hasn't gone up in a few years, I believe. We also added some money in for our the increasing prices of databases, website hosting, and other services. That's the budget line 6355. That's other services. And basically, that's just everybody's raising their prices. So, and then in the budget line for automated services, that was also increased. That is part of where our courier services come out of. We're in a consortium with 76 libraries around the state, which gives us access to 3 million items in our catalog, but courier fees are quite heavy, as I'm sure you can imagine. And those are split between the libraries in the group, but they do go up every year quite a bit. So we put more money in there. And then we also added some money in for a permanent book walk that we're going to have at Mackin Park. So it'll be a nice permanent thing. And then we are going to be rolling over money we took out from the library's reserve fund last year for remodeling the bathrooms, because I don't think it's going to happen this year. We did get the light project done, yay, but the bathrooms aren't finished, so we'll probably be pushing that off till next year. So. And then there's some capital projects that the city is putting in money for that I'm sure Anthony could explain a lot better.
There we go. Councilmember Graham.
One quick question. The line item for children's programming, that went up. It looked like it was pretty consistent between 6,000 and 10,000, and then this year you're asking for 20. Is that to cover the book walk, or is that for
Yes.
something else? Okay,
Yep, that's the book walk.
thanks.
Perfect. Good to see you. Appreciate you coming out
Thank
this
you.
evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that leaves Victoria, I believe.
And-
Sorry, I cut you off.
No, you're good. Yes, Parks and Recreation next, and I didn't mention what page number, but Parks is on page 101, if you're following along in
Good evening. Our budget too was approved by the Park Board last Thursday at our meeting. The Parks and Recreation is, their fund is supported by the tax levy as well as fees that we charge for programming, rentals, sponsorships. We also get fees from Casey Mo for the shared dog park. And then this year, in October, we started collecting that quarter-cent park sales tax. So we were kind of conservative. We predicted that we'd bring in about $1 million this year. And so next year, we are projecting $1.25 million for the park sales tax. The Park Board had a retreat back in March, and we prioritized a lot of infrastructure projects that need attention and kind of planned those over the next 3 years. We also decided to take kind of a conservative approach and build up a healthy fund balance first, and then to also understand what the impact of River Forest Park is going to have on us, particularly for staffing and maintenance. So this year was considered a bridge year. So with the upcoming fiscal year, we are taking on the maintenance position that has previously been paid through municipal services out of the general fund, as well as the administrative fees and public work fees that was a pass-through from the gaming fund. Those will all be paid by parks in the upcoming year. And then other than that, outside of salaries and park maintenance, the other expense items with increases will also see a return on investment through our revenue. So, any questions?
One quick question.
Yes.
It looks like your salaries are going up. Your ask is about 30% over what it was last year.
So, do you want to answer that, Nick?
That, I'll take that. So previous to this year, one of the parks employees was paid for out of the general fund, buildings and grounds, I believe. And with the passage of the park sales tax, we had talked about moving that parks employee into parks. So that was a large part of the increase. Was
So that's,
So
that person is
now paid for
That-
fully
that's a
out
little bit of
parks.
it. But-
more of, but 30% is a pretty big increase.
The biggest thing is that after we did the compensation study, when all the salaries went up in January, our actual number didn't get increased. So it's more of a, what would you call it?
And
Just-
as I'm looking at it too, I see where you're seeing from the projected to, I should update this projection because they are going over that and you can look at their 23. So this is a case of, we just need to have the budget updated for this year. So it's really not a 30% increase. This is really based on the compensation study that was approved by their board. And it is falling, this budget falls in line with that, plus the additional position so the budget number needs to be updated on that, but the actuals are trending in a consistent with what that comp study showed.
So like this year, we'll finish out like at about 600 plus K. So, Anything else?
Nope. Appreciate you coming out this
Thank
evening
you.
as well. Thank you. I'm going to ask council real quick if they'd be fine taking a brief time out from this, going to item number 13, because the only other person left, I believe, is beyond George, that's not staff, is our friends over at Star Development over here. If council was okay switching to number 13 briefly, discuss this item, they can get clarity, move on, and then we'll just kind of be down to everyone that's left. If council's fine with that, I'm sure I'm supposed to make some sort of motion here, but we'll just, I see no objection. With that, we'll briefly go to item number 23, which is item number 13, which is 23rd and Swift sales tax exemption extension request. Is there a presentation on this one? Or?
Evening, Mayor and Council. In your packet was a memo kind of detailing the brief history of 23rd and Swift, and I would like to introduce Star Development. They have 2 representatives with them, and they would like to ask for an extension on their sales tax exemption form.
You're still welcome to stay and watch the rest of the budget. if
Yeah,
you'd
no,
like as
appreciate
well.
it.
Yeah.
Blake Fulton, Star Development, 244 West Mill Street, Liberty Mo. Just go with it, or do you? Okay. Yeah, basically, it's a tax exempt project, and we were doing them on years, and then the last one we did to 4/30, and then the one after that got extended to the 31st of this month, and basically, we need an extension to September, is what we're asking for, 2 more months.
Okay. I'll be real brief. I'd support the extension. I think it's fine. We need to move the project along, get the project done. It's what we said we're going to do. I want to fill what we said we're going to do. So definitely want to get that done. My question would be more on the staff side here. There's previous extensions. Why did those, I guess, not come to council, and then this one comes to council? Or I guess what's in the contract? Did we ever pull?
From what I understand in the contract, right, from what I understand in the contract, it says the city will. I went back and read after our discussion. But as far as previous times, no.
Okay. I couldn't, I don't.
I usually issue those at the time of the contract, and I never go over a year.
Yeah.
And then I try not and make sure that it doesn't go over when the contract ends, is what I usually do.
Okay.
So,
Okay. I have the date, before I was coming up here, I was looking at the dates. We had one that ended in '22, because she was doing it at the end of the year. Then we had one that ended in '23. I think it's kind of typical. They do these on a 12-month basis. And then we thought we'd need it till 4/30/24. And then we ended up getting it pushed to the 7/31. We requested 9/30, and then now we're back for the 9/30.
Perfect. All right. I saw Councilmember Saper first, and then we'll go Fitzgerald.
Yeah, it seems to me you've had a bit of a checkered past in how you've maintained the roadways around the project. And I would not feel comfortable with granting this unless you actually can present us with signed contracts from whoever you choose to do the restoration work on the roads adjacent to the project. And apparently you don't have that yet.
So if you need specific answers, Nick's here from Bonaventure Construction that's managing all that, but they're working with, he's working with Chris Cooper, correct? And right now on our mill and overlay plan for the perimeter of the site. So that's like currently in the works to figure out. So there's quotes and everything from the different contractors, but not.
You haven't signed any agreements with them?
No, because the plan's not finalized.
I'm still opposed to granting this exemption until I can see something that says you're going to actually do what you've claimed you will be doing.
Oh, yeah, go ahead, Nick.
How you doing, sir?
Yeah.
Nick Hawkins with Bonaventure. So right now, we had Anthony come out to the job site earlier this week, or what was it? Yesterday. And we talked about the entire perimeter of the project. So right now, we have a contract signed with Seal-O-Matic to do the work shown in the contract documents. What Anthony and I are working on right now is coming up with a solution to mill and overlay the entire perimeter of the project. I'm going to have a plan to Anthony by the end of this week showing exactly what we want to do and how we want to move forward. So that right now, we do have a contract with the asphalt company, and we're working with them to do the entire mill and overlay as you want.
And this is contemplated in the current development agreement then? Is that?
So right now in the current plans, we have small sections where we're repairing the road.
Okay.
And that's basically where we've cut across the road to connect to utilities.
Yeah.
And in the documents, we are taking the entire road out and putting a brand-new road in, so about 12 inches. What I want to do is, and again, I don't know if Anthony's talked about this with you, is kind of meet in the middle where we've damaged the road, we continue replacing the entire road. But where we haven't damaged the road and we're just doing these utility cuts, we just do the 2-inch mill and overlay. So I think that we can get the contract balanced out so we don't have to, so we're not damaging ourselves with the subcontractor Seal-O-Matic. And again, we had Seal-O-Matic with Anthony on the site, and they feel confident that it can be very close to a wash and getting the entire road paved, which is what I think you all want.
Yeah, my concern is that some of the roadway has been damaged.
Yes, sir.
And does need to be rebuilt, not just mill and overlay,
And
as you acknowledge.
yes.
But I would still like to see something in writing, like an agreement and a contract, before granting this extension.
So as Anthony said, we met yesterday. I need a little bit of time to get a plan together, and then based off that, I think we can give you what you want.
I would hope you could accelerate that a great deal.
I will do my best to try and get that plan together in the next couple of days.
But until then, I can't vote to support this.
Councilmember Fitzgerald.
I may be conflating a couple of timelines and issues here, so please correct me if I'm wrong. But my understanding of this work site is that I'll try to get the right terms here, a violation for not timely completing work in the city right away was issued roughly a year ago. In December of '23, a stop work order was issued for that same matter, had not been corrected. I have not heard it's been corrected still to this day, a year after the initial violation. So, excuse me. I wanted to, make sure I'm understanding that, and I'm trying to reconcile that with coming here and asking for something else without correcting the outstanding issues.
That's a fair point. One of the things that we're doing right now is pushing along 23rd Ave. And I don't know if you've been to the site recently, but we have a 600-foot trench drain along the entire front of that property that's going to greatly improve the drainage of that entire area. We have the east side of the project completely done where we have our parking installed. We poured today in the rain, and we're going to try and get the west side of the parking done. That will allow us to install the asphalt parking in the drive aisle, which would eliminate 90% of the issues that you're having with mud on the roads and et cetera. The only thing that we're going to need left is at the front part of the project where we have to build the cabana and pool and have access to the courtyard. We are working diligently to correct those issues and be in compliance. We've communicated the 19th of this month to get the concrete work done. And then obviously we're going to have to gain access into that courtyard a little bit longer. But again, we will be eliminating 90% of the issues that you all are concerned about with mud in the streets, and we should be in compliance at that point.
Okay, I do want to be supportive of people willing to develop and invest in our community, but I know this project has also been a headache for a lot of our residents. Can you speak as to, if my timeline's right, we're basically a year after a violation for not having this work done was issued. I appreciate you getting it fixed now, but I just question, it's been a year, you're asking for a favor, and it's finally getting done. Why the holdup?
So the project team has changed significantly. I joined the project earlier this year. I do not know why that was not addressed. I do know that around 3 sides of the project, we went from asphalt to concrete to expedite getting the perimeter of the project completed. So we have attempted to expedite completing the perimeter of the project. The challenge is just manpower, again, rain, winter. These are all challenges in construction that we're trying to overcome and get this project to you as quickly as possible.
I appreciate hearing that. I think I would be in support of extending the Chapter 100 as soon as that the work you said was scheduled for later this month is completed to the city staff's satisfaction related to those violations.
On the stop work order, is there still a stop work order? I guess that's a shoot question.
Yes.
Okay. Well, that was a short one on that one. Okay.
The answer is yes, the stop work order is still in place. As currently we have observed, this project is moving along into compliance. Why does it take this long? That is probably more a question to this project team. But we have seen substantial improvements in the past few weeks over here. As Nick mentioned over there, they are working diligently to try to complete the right-of-way work as what the stop work order holds. However, that does not include the repavement plan that we're talking about over here, what he mentioned earlier, for the mill over. And this is something that staff has been working with them. Correct. That is not part of the stop work order. The stop work order is for them to complete the right-of-way improvements, which are basically the infrastructure and furniture, including on-street parking and landscape, all the curbs, trench drawing, gutters, and all of that. So they have been working on it as of right now. There are different challenges over there. I do admit there are weather challenges, like every project does in this region right now, but there are also challenges regarding to utilities and the other issues. So those are the 2 cents I have over here. But we have not lifted up the stock work order because as of today, this work has not been completed.
Yeah, I'm just trying to piece out this timeline here. So this sales tax exemption runs through July 31st. Obviously, this is, I guess, important to buying materials to complete what you're trying to do. Do you believe you'll be done with, I'm trying to figure out, there's a couple different things going on here. That right-of-way work, I guess, is one of the concerns. By July 31st?
Will we be done with the right-of-way work?
Yeah.
There's different pieces of it that will be done. Nick
I
would
guess
have to let you know
that's-
those. Before Nick gives you those, on the actual exemption, that's what the subcontractors use that form to purchase materials. So if they don't have an active one of those, they can't purchase materials, and therefore would significantly delay the project.
So now we're really going to get into a bind. Okay.
Can I ask a stupid question? I don't think it, what does a stop work order mean in this case?
In this case, the stop work order intention behind it is to complete the work in a right-of-way before you do any other work.
So they're not supposed to be working on the building at all?
Correct.
Why do you need to purchase materials for the building if you have a stop work order on the building? Are these materials for the right-of-way work?
There's an open stop work order, and keep in mind, we don't know the city's exact definition of what they mean with a stop work order, but we've had permission to work on the building from the building officials.
Then what does a stop work order mean in this case?
In this case, what I believe Blake was mentioning from building officials, allowance for the working of the building is for whatever is the cosmetic items, such as painting over, or if it is a structural resecuring part of it, or due to the weather over the winter time, they have to add the heat pump over there and continue the installation. So the materials don't deteriorate it during the building time. So these are the minimum these are the minimum work that we allowed them to work.
Okay. So when do you expect to have the right-of-way issues corrected so that your stop work order is lifted?
So 19 of this month, we're going to be able to complete the trench drain and concrete along 23rd Ave.
Right.
We're still going to need access to the center of the project. After that, we're going to work on the asphalt in our drive aisle. That will be completed by the end of this month. We need to go past that for vegetation around the perimeter. And to be honest with you, the reason we're asking for till the end of September is we want the mill and overlay to be the last thing that we do after we've completed all of the work around the building so that it's pristine. And we're not just putting something down in a rush that just gets beat up.
Did you have Councilmember Clark? There, I thought I saw a hand.
Everyone's covering the bases. That my concern was, my instant knee-jerk reaction was like, no, I don't want to approve this until we know. And I was going to ask, of course, what everybody's already asking. What needed to happen, aside from mill and overlay? I understand why you would want to wait until the very last minute for that, to make sure everything is signed, sealed, delivered, everything looks nice. But I think it's the piece where we are being contacted by our constituents to say, this has been kind of a nightmare. You guys keep approving these things. We need some assurance that there's a plan in place, that we're not going to just keep pushing this date out to where we're hitting 2025 and going, yeah, can we keep up with this Chapter 100 bonds? And I don't know where the project goes, right? We need some assurance that there's some sort of plan. I think that's what everyone's looking for.
I think that we've been coordinating with the city very well recently. And we have come up with a plan. Again, we have the subcontractor for concrete committed to the 19th to complete their work along 23rd Ave. We have the subcontractor for asphalt committed to complete their work in our drive aisle. That will eliminate, again, like I said, 90% of your constituents' concerns of mud. We still do need access into the front of the project along 23rd Ave to complete the courtyard. But again, that should be done the following month. And then we can just put a bow on it with the mill and overlay by the end of September. So we do have a solid plan to complete this. We do have subs in line to complete the work, and we have realistic schedules that we can meet.
All right, I saw two of them. Okay, Councilmember Saper.
I realize you may have come to this project fairly recently, but it seems to me that because of all the accumulated errors and failures in the past, they're on your shoulders now. And any extra costs that you incur by not having this sales tax exemption, to me, it seems like it's a penalty you pay for not having performed in the past. And so I cannot support it.
Councilmember Fitzgerald.
I guess first one question and then a statement, but the stop work order, I understand it was issued in December. It was cold at that time. We were doing work to prevent freezing and whatnot, but like what kind of work has been going on the past few months? And it's, I assume that freezing risk maintenance concerns are gone. So I'm trying to understand, what kind of work was necessary to prevent damage, but was still allowed while a stop work order was in place.
My understanding of the stop work order is that it's, a form of purgatory where, make sure that we're doing everything that the building officials are looking for because we're still under a stop work order. But we're, every move that we're making out there, everything we're working on has been approved by the building officials. There's nothing that we're working on that hasn't been approved.
Have we not been enforcing the stop work order, or maybe I'm unfamiliar with how these work?
We have been enforcing the stop work order. Throughout earlier this year, there were a couple of violations to the stop work order. We actually emailed them before, and they stopped them right away. And from the observation we have so far, what they're overdoing there, they do have continuously on the structural component for the building to resecure the building, and there were issues with inspections that came up, and then they have to reinforce and redo some of that. That is for safety reasons, as far as I could see. There was also issues with the insulation, because they have the facade that they use a particular type of board that would have the expiration date. If they don't secure it and continue working on it, then the manufacturer would not have warranty over them. So these are the items we allowed them to continue working on. But as far as I could see today, those are very minimum items. The other work that I have observed along with my building official are generally the stocking of whatever the furniture they have inside, such as the furnace, the stoves, and things like that, that they're just purchasing and then put it inside of the building, so this way they have a storage area for those. Other than that, I think the rest of that should be under stop work order, that we are not aware of any extensive amount of building or reconstruction of those. As Blake mentioned over here, the intention behind the stop work order is to bring them into compliance. In this case, there are two items actually in the stop work order. One is the storm drainage, the prevention of the pollution to our storm system. So including the sandbags and the reassurance of the erosion control around the perimeter, and they have completed that. And the second item is to make them complete the right-of-way. As we can see now, they have been diligently working on that, and which I do understand purchasing those materials might need the sales tax exemption. But with the debate we have even internally, how to hold them accountable to complete this right-of-way, as Mr. Hawkins came, he has been committed to this project for a lot of time, and there was communication with staff continuously. I do see an improvement, I'll just say that, and maybe we're thinking about if they could keep their promise of completing the right-of-way, we can condition that, if you all feel comfortable as granting them maybe a 30-day, another month of the extension as discussed in the memo.
Thanks for clarifying that. I think I might be taking stop work order a little too literally based on the name title there, so thank you. But, I do appreciate the efforts to keep moving, and it sounds like things have been improving. But, as Mr. Saper said, we have a track record for, over a year now by my count of things not getting done timely, I'm hesitant to move forward with extending this without, more concrete, actually getting something done and getting back to where we should have been, potentially a year ago with my limited understanding.
I'll just throw it out there since she would just mention it. You could consider a end of August, I guess, extension as well, and then come back and do it again. I know where you stand. I see. I was just throwing it out there anyways. I've got your notes here. Councilmember Alvarez.
You mentioned the date of July 19th, that's this Friday for the concrete. Maybe, it's just a suggestion, we could come back after that, see if that is actually done, and then maybe at the next council meeting revisit this.
Yeah, but it's expired at that point. That'd be August 6th.
Mr. Mayor,
We got that gap one this time. Mr. Tom Parsi.
may I throw something out on the table to maybe move this along to accommodate these gentlemen, but at the same time to protect the interest of the city, to make sure everything is done, that we enter into some form of a side letter agreement with them and the contractor and the owners, the real owners of the property, we are right now under the Chapter 100, to the effect that they agree that they will not get a certificate of occupancy until 100% of all of this work, including in the public right-of-way that they've promised to do, until that's done. Now, you might say, well, what's that give for the city? Well, what it does is it makes the owners don't start getting any return on their investment until they start renting those spots out. And you got to have some, we still have to have some ability to, to have control. It's not that we're calling these, questioning the word of these gentlemen at all. What it's doing is protecting the interest of the city, and therefore they can't occupy the premises and give it to them for 30, to the end of August to see what's happened. And a month from now, the second meeting of August, you'd have some idea. But I think ultimately the city needs to have this project finished, okay? But you don't want it to be finished not right. And I can't think of another way that would get the owner's attention, at least, the developers, that's the better word, the developers' attention better than knowing they won't be getting a certificate of occupancy from the city until all of this work is done, including that work that needs to be done in the public right-of-way.
All right, Councilmember Clark, Councilmember Fitzgerald.
So if I heard you right, it is expired, essentially, Chapter 100. So they need something so that it's expiring, like, 31st. Okay.
The sales tax exemption certificate, yeah.
Sure. Yes.
Yeah.
And so we're applying till the end of. So it's kind of like, and if you're suggesting, extending it just to the end of August, to check the progress, with also a side letter that says, here's the contingency overall for the project when we reach the point of overlay and milling and all of those things, that we have sort of check boxes that say, if you don't meet these criteria, it's lined out in a contract, then we cannot go forward with occupancy.
We essentially have that now. So there's a couple forms of occupancy. You can get a temporary, and then you get a final. And so we're trying to phase the project with buildings 3, 4, and 5. Very important to us to be able to start moving people in before it's completely done, right? And so the development agreement, I think, calls for right at the end of September for us to have a certificate of occupancy at that point. So, I mean, all this is pretty much aligning around September anyways, for us to have the project done, or we would have to come back and talk with the city about the agreement, which is what we're on track for with the project anyways. So when we initially asked for this sales tax exemption, we asked for 9/30 or 9/31, and the city said 7/31, which is why we're here kind of for this conversation. We were just hoping to get to the end of the project, what the development agreement says and what we're on track to finish for anyways, just all those kind of aligned. And this is kind of, the reason we're asking for this is because the subcontractors are worried that they might have to order a door or, just a random part. Most of the stuff's already ordered, but they don't want to, they need this to order something random at the end. That's why we're doing it.
a little bit more than a door, so the asphalt would have to be, the asphalt would have to be ordered at the end, the concrete has, so there's a significant amount of material that has to be ordered right at the end.
Yeah.
95% of the material is.
All right.
I feel like I'm open to that point. I feel like I'm open to moving the project along. I don't want to just be the person that's preventing, because I don't want that to be the excuse of why things aren't moving along. But I do believe that we have to have some additional contingencies, something additional that says we have to believe this is going to be buttoned up, all put together, even though right now there's a loose understanding that, you know, occupancy letters are out there and understanding that. I still think, from what I heard you say, portions could be rented out ahead of the whole project being finished. That is not going to go over well. I can feel it in the neighborhoods. That's traffic coming through, people moving in, and then mud, the potential of all that. I want to believe that won't happen.
All the landscaping would be done, all the perimeter would be done, all that. Our agreement already with the city, with the building officials, David and all them, is that all that has to be done before we get TCO. All the building safety, the fire systems, it's essentially just, you know, you don't want to wait till the very, very end of certain things, when you have certain buildings ready to go for us to have people to move in, right? If, you know, half the building is ready to go where people can move in, the fire system works, we wouldn't want to wait till the very end to get the certificate of occupancy. But it'll all be like, to the citizen's eye, completely done.
I mean, I feel like, Councilmember Saber, I know you're the one that's, I mean, there's 5 of us up here. We're gonna, like, you gotta be with us, or where are we going? My thought was that if we do open it up to at least extend it to the end of August, I know their ask is the end of September, but that holds them to what they plan to get done this month, and it holds them accountable. They have a plan that says July, 19th. They have something for the following week, that once they come to us, because they'll need to ask next month for that extension into September. So they would have had to have that done. I think we're at a safe bet to approve to the point of the end of August. I know that adds extra work for you guys. You're like, cool, we'll do multiple contracts, but to give us some sort of assurance, and I think we can hit a balance here to say, let's extend there. They would have to come back next month to ask to the extension to the end of September, and I'm open to any other suggestions.
I said I'd call on Fitzgerald first, then I'll get to you.
I think this might be relevant to where we're going here, and I do like the idea of coming up with a compromise to ensure that we, get done what we've been told we'll get done. But I'm going off memory here. This is dangerous, but I believe my reading of the stop work order said within that a I cannot say that word tonight. Yeah, certificate of occupancy will not be issued until the stop work order right-of-way work is completed. So my concern is, if we do a side letter that effectively says that same thing, it clearly hasn't been enough leverage to get it taken care of timely to date.
There we go. Councilmember Saper.
Clearly, your need to order asphalt and concrete, and which is one of the main reasons you want this sales tax exemption. You can still order it, but it'll cost you more. And I regard that as a penalty for the lack of performance in building of this project. So I cannot support that.
Thank you. Further comments? If not, I'll ask for some sort of, you sound like you had a plan, some sort of motion here. We'll find out where that lands here in a second then. But we got to start with a motion somewhere. Oh, I saw hands too. There we go.
I think I'm partially holding this up. I'm concerned about the certificate, the occupancy. Is there any other options as far as, tying this extension to the work getting done in, a more binding way?
Yeah, we can have a side letter. We don't have to say prior to the issuance of certificate of occupancy if that makes you feel uncomfortable. And typically we do have a different kind of certificate of occupancy that's called temporary certificate of occupancy. There is no guarantee from the city whatsoever agreed that we will issue a temporary certificate of occupancy for certain buildings based off certain completion. The judgment call for that temporary certificate of occupancy is whether or not the area is safe and is open to the use, and what is in relation to the rest of the project. And at this point, I cannot say on top of that, and along with my building official, because we have not seen the improvements of the entire project to be done as Blake mentioned over here. However, we could consider it in the future if you wanted to hold on to the site letter to say issuance of any temporary certificate of occupancy. I think that's probably more to the interest and to the timeline, more irrelevant to what the city wanted. If that makes any sense to you.
Can you walk me through the difference between the
Sure.
temporary and the, I guess, the full one?
Sure. We often joke about what is a temporary certificate of occupancy. Normally, that, as it states, is a temporary item, right? So for any business or any residential or any work to be done to establish the occupancy, which essentially is the use, to be allowed by the city saying, we reviewed everything, we inspected everything, you're good to go, you have to have a certificate of occupancy. The temporary certificate of occupancy normally comes when there is a big project that usually are either phased or in a much more complexity in its own nature. So therefore, maybe a portion of it is already completed, while the rest of the project is still in progress or will be done in the future. So this is why a temporary occupancy, we don't encourage it, but we could issue it. However, there are certain criteria about temporary certificate of occupancy you have to meet for the city to be able to issue it. And the length of the temporary certificate of occupancy can vary itself. It can vary from 30 days to 6 months in general, that you have the understanding of what's the uniqueness of the project itself. And in this case, what they're asking is they wanted to be able to start leasing out portions of those buildings, because believe it or not, it looks like one big building from the outside, but it's actually several buildings that's connected internally through, of course, party walls and all the other stuff. So in this case, if they wanted to rent out any portion of the building, they will have at least the minimum, they will need a temporary certificate of occupancy for certain buildings. And the city will check on the fire code, the building code, make sure the egress is all safe, and the party walls is well established, and of course there's a guaranteed parking spaces over there, and the in and out of the access to the site is reasonable, which means it's not going to interfere the surrounding, it's not going to overwhelm our on-street parking, and of course the street has to be substantially completed at that time. So with all that in mind, I feel like maybe a temporary certificate of occupancy is probably more appropriate over here, meaning if we don't get the site letter and saying you're done with this right-of-way work all the way around as you promised, you're not going to be able to lease a single unit out in this case. So maybe that's more to the city's interest at this point instead of a certificate of occupancy. Usually we see that as a final step in this case, will be for the full project.
So then we would be proposing no temporary occupancy even until the items discussed today would be completed?
That's exactly what's been talked about with David and the deal. It's the biggest carrot for us is we want to get occupancy, but the TCO before. I mean, we're never going to get that unless we have all the site perimeter stuff done. I mean, that's the carrot. That's it. This exemption is more kind of just some kind of a paperworky type of a scenario, with how the state works.
There we go. Oh, Councilmember. No, you weren't in the queue. There we go. Councilmember Alvarez.
I would be in favor of that, the short-term or temporary, just to keep the project moving along, because otherwise I'm afraid it'll just stay as is and prolong none of these problems or projects getting done or completed. So I would be in favor of that.
There we go. Oh, did someone want to?
I just want a clarification. You were in favor of the temporary certificate of occupancy or us pushing that as a non-option and just saying everything has to be done before a single unit could be rented? That's how I was understanding it, as we were kind of saying.
That is essentially the same thing.
Okay.
No temporary certificate of occupancy, which means no TCO,
Yeah, no.
no single unit can be rented out.
Right.
In this case, yep.
Okay, I was just making sure that's what you were saying. Okay. So no to that.
I just wanted to say one more thing. I think that this is incredibly frustrating because we want this project to be done. We want to be able to let your vendors and subcontractors buy things at a, without having to pay sales tax. But this project has a history of not doing what it says it's going to do. And so there's a big fear that we give you an extension to the end of July or the end of August or the end of September, and then you're back here in a couple of months and you still haven't done what you said you're going to do. And I know that you're saying there's these promises of July 19th and the end of July. I don't know if there's an option for this, but I mean, I would be in favor of issuing a sales tax exemption on August 1st to you after the 19th has passed and after the end of July has passed. And if those things that you have promised are done, then you can have that would start on August 1st. But I am not comfortable giving a sales tax exemption when promises have been made and promises have not been kept. So is that an option? Is it okay for us to approve it contingent upon these things that they have said are going to be done by the 19th and the 21st? And again, I know you got to order stuff, but I'm kind of leaning Tony's way where this isn't just a gift that you get because you're building a project. I mean, you guys get these exemptions because you meet certain requirements of the project. And even if it's not your fault, requirements of the project haven't been met. And so I'd like to see some requirements get made that, or get met, and then we can talk about, okay, now you can get the reward for meeting those requirements.
I guess I'll let you comment on project timeline. My only concern, things do come up with related to other things, and where that's a pretty tight timeline. That would be my only concern on that, but you guys know more on the timeline and what kind of, I guess.
I'll let Nick talk to the timeline, but I mean, the original development agreement called for the project to be done in September, and we're on pace to be done in September. So, construction, I wish we could get it down to, the day,
I'm sorry,
but it's hard to
I
get
drive past
down
that
to
site all the time. I don't see how in the world you're going to be done by September. Maybe I don't know construction. Obviously, I don't. But I think that if you say something's going to be done by the 19th, and if it gets done by the 19th, box ticked. If you say it's going to get done by the end of July and it's done by the end of July, box ticked. Then you get your sales tax exemption for all of August and all of September and however much longer it takes you to get the project done.
So,
Well, legal counsel real quick, and then, sorry.
Yeah, this is real quick. To accommodate what Councilwoman McGrone is saying, what happens if you direct the city clerk to issue an extension to August the 5th? The reason I say that is we have a council meeting on August the 3rd, okay? You can find out if all these things have actually been done. Oh, August the 4th we have one, because it's an election day. 7th, I'm sorry, get the right dates. I asked you
What?
it was.
Hold on.
But
I'm looking.
the reason is, that way, that would accommodate that to see if and all you're giving them is, that allows them just to keep working. They have one through the 31st anyway. And find out if all of these things that they've told you is going to be done are done.
Councilmember Clark.
I'm for that. That puts us in a position where we're still willing to negotiate, still willing to extend if it happens. But it's not saying that, because they already have the extension through the end of this month. So we're not doing anything magical. We're just revisiting then on that first meeting in August to say, are we continuing forward? While getting probably updates along the way from Shu and Anthony Sands. I'd rather move forward in that direction than just to kind of sit here and wonder until the next meeting.
If you wanted to touch on timeline, maybe, I don't know, I think we're getting to some sort of resolution here, but yeah, that might help if we understand the timeline again here.
Yeah, so as y'all know, it's been raining quite a bit this summer. I'm not saying that as an excuse, but every time it rains, it slows us down. So we are doing everything we can to continue with this work, and rain has significantly slowed us down this summer. The 19th which is Friday, we want to have the west side of 23rd Ave poured. We already have the trench drain done. We want to pour the parking. Now, it rained, so we have to go back and check the subbase to make sure that it's still acceptable. But that would be the only thing holding us up is the weather. As soon as that happens, the concrete team will move to our drive aisle and pour curbs, and we will have asphalt, and there will be no more mud going into your street except at the middle of the project at 23rd Ave in between the two buildings where we have to get to the cabana and pool. So yes, I believe that that's going to happen by the end of this month. And again, I'm not trying to deflect blame. It's my project right now. I'm telling you here that that's going to happen. We will have asphalt on this project in the drive aisle. We will have the parking done by the end of this month. Now, does that mean we're going to have the project done? No, it doesn't. But I can guarantee you that I'm going to be driving this project every single day like I'm doing right now to make sure that our subs are working on the right things, on the priorities, to make sure that your citizens around our project are not bothered anymore. Everybody wants to be done with this project. And I am driving everyone as hard as I can to be done. So I can't guarantee anything. We are giving the city updates weekly. Here's where we at on the front. I mean, we email them every single week showing them progress, showing that we're starting on the right of work, that we're working to complete this. We are in constant communication with them. If we didn't want to get this project done, I don't think we would do that. I don't think I'd have Anthony and the entire city come out with our Seal-O-Matic team and come up with a solution for your mill and overlay. Now, we have already been seriously penalized financially. So we had to do 3 sides of the project in the wintertime. Asphalt companies are shut down. We've already had to pay over $60,000 to put concrete parking on 3 sides of this project because of the stop work order. You're already making us pay. So I wanted, again, I'm not deflecting what has happened in the past, but we are trying everything that we can to meet your needs. I know it doesn't seem like we're doing anything though right now, and that frustrates me because I drive by the building every day and I'm like, doesn't really look like we're doing much, but we are busting our butts on the right-of-way work to get that site cleaned up.
Thank you. Further, Councilmember Alvarez.
I think I would agree with Councilman McGrone. I had kind of mentioned that before, seeing what was done by the 19th, by this Friday, and coming back to this at the next council meeting to see if those specific items had been completed and then go from there. So I would agree to that. I think that would be fair.
I mean, if there's specific items we're interested in, can we just make a contingent, like, so staff's already extended this a couple times, so why not give staff the permission to extend it if they go ahead and check those boxes rather than having this whole conversation around again publicly? I know you will feel differently on that idea. Noted, thank you. But if everyone else doesn't want to have this round again, then why not enable staff on this one to say, hey, if they do check a few of these, whatever those boxes are, then yes, go ahead and extend until the end of August. I know it says September, but it sounds like we're not going to quite get there. If we can get to the end of August, start there, but I'm open.
I could get behind the 1-week extension until the next meeting to try and get these promises done. I'm trying to phrase this carefully, but to sound cliche, you know, Missouri's the show me state. We've been hearing for a year now this was supposed to be done, and, you know, a story sounds good when you all need something, but it hasn't been done yet.
Further comment?
We'll just keep going.
Yeah.
Let's just all talk. I just think I'm listening. I'm trying to remove sort of, again, the knee-jerk reaction of like, show us. I'm into the week extension. I think we need to offer something, knowing that even by Shu's experience and Anthony Sands, that they are coming forward. There's different ownership getting involved. There's improvements that are happening that didn't exist in the past. We all want the project to be finished. We don't want to be the reason why it's not moving forward, and I fully understand we're not the reason. But I think if we can all agree to the 1 week, just to offer this, to say, let's see how this works out, and then revisit it in August to see, okay, are we, like she said, checking the boxes? Are they doing what they said they would do? Have the tide shifted?
I think you hit on one main point is, yeah, definitely want to get this project to the finish line. There's been frustrating aspects, but we're nearing it, and I think we want to contribute to getting to the finish line rather than hindering in any sort of way getting to the finish line. But further, he's done. He's exhausted on this. You seem like you had, I don't know.
I mean, I would move to offer the 1 week extension beyond the current expiration and revisit it in August and let it be contingent on what they plan to have completed. Do I have to say what that was? You know what it is. You guys know what it is.
I second all of that.
Okay, we might
Can
want some
we
clarity
make it-
though on a motion though.
If I'm going to do the exemption certificate, can
Okay.
we have an exact date? Like, do you want it the date of the next council meeting, which is August 7th?
August 7th, yeah.
Okay.
Or the week following?
Well, the next, the Thursday, because we have a council meeting, the next one's a Wednesday, right? Because we have a.
So the 8th?
And so I'm thinking maybe that's the 7th, so either the 8th or the 9th, take it to Friday, the 9th, let her issue it, and then you'll know.
Okay. I'm fine with that. August 9th.
If they've done everything they've said, you want them to be able to keep working the very next day, et cetera. You don't want some issue to pop up, because it'll take her till the next day to issue one.
Yeah, I was gonna say how's gonna be my next question. How
She's
long
a
does this
professional
process
city
take?
clerk, so 2 seconds. Oh.
That's the fastest government response I've ever heard. 2 seconds.
What's everyone comfortable with? The 8th, the 9th?
I mean, at that point, we're just
The
tossing it
9th,
up.
Friday
yeah.
the 9th.
Yeah, right.
That's our olive branch.
Nope. Okay. There's a motion.
McGrone
And a
seconded.
second. There was a second. Now I'm going to call for all in favor. Please say yes.
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 Opposed, say no.
No.
Motion carries. We will do this again on August 6th, it sounds like. I'm sorry.
So we need to come back when? When do I need to be back?
August 7th.
August 7th. And who do we discuss with the items?
That would be Shu. I continue with,
Shu. Okay.
community development.
Do we still talk with, we've been instructed to talk to David with everything, or?
Oh, that would, I'd leave that to you all too.
Oh,
Just
okay. All right.
That aspect, but
Okay.
yeah.
I
that
just
would be-
trying to understand.
Yeah,
Thank you.
sorry.
Okay. All right. Well,
So hopefully, get the progress, and then hopefully then we get to the end of September after that, be the goal. So. Thank you. Sorry, see you again.
Back to the original Nick Hawkins.
Now, because we are taking things out of order. That was item 13. We will now continue. Item number 7, budget discussion. And that took longer than I thought, so I might cut you off again here somewhere. Do we want to go through Public Works for tonight?
It is
Stop on
truly
Anthony's note
up
here.
to you. This was built to be flexible. And
I'll
again,
leave that up
we've
to
got
council.
the
Let's see where they start, and
conversation.
if we want to cut off point, I think, ending that or continue on through community development is.
Administration is next, and
Yeah.
Mike is going to talk about that. That starts on page 45.
Public Works looks like a heavy lift, so maybe get through that one, and the rest looks like lighter work. But we will see how this goes. Please. Oh, there we go. All right.
Like Nick said, administration, as far as the salaries and who's covered in administration, that's IT. I'm going to work backwards here. The finance, human resources, city clerk's office, administration, legal, and of course, elected officials. You all are in this budget as well. Define. So kind of a brief overview of the admin budget. Overall, we've got it down 3.8%. Now, based on that, salaries are up 1%. Your all's is flat. That didn't go over like I thought it would. Some other decreases, we sharpened the pencil, and you'll hear from the other department heads as well as they go through theirs, but travel and training, for both appointed and elected, we've decreased 24% and 21% respectively. And we've been looking at, actuals and projected for this year. Other legal costs down 50%, proposed. Professional services decreased 35%, and then even office supplies, I might hear about this, but down a quarter or 25%. So we're trying.
I thought that was Tom. I wasn't ready for that reaction from Tom.
But that's the brief overview, and that's most of administration is the
start turning in
salaries
my
and
sign
then
here
travel
stickers when I'm
training,
done so we can reuse them.
supplies that we need.
Councilmember Clark.
Just a fast curiosity question. Cell phone and pagers. It went from 8,000 to 5,000. I'm just curious, is that a stipend or is it like individual phones for each?
Individual.
Individual phones?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
How
I
many?
don't know that we have pagers anymore. I don't believe so. I'm sorry. I cut
So
you.
it's individual phones versus stipends, knowing that
Correct.
okay.
Correct.
And how many phones? What is 5,000 across phones?
We can,
We can get
I can
back
let
to
you
you on
know that. I'll have
Yeah,
that.
I don't, I'm, yeah.
Yeah. No,
Well, and like, how did it drop by 3,000? 8,000 to 5,000 on the budgeted phone allowance? I was just curious. I didn't know if like, you guys went to tin
Yeah.
can and string for a few people?
What I would say is I think we can get back to you on the number. I mean, this is kind of a standard across all of the departments. They have this, and usually there's, kind of the monthly payment for it. But sometimes maybe they bought new phones and that increased the cost. And so the monthly cost stays the same, but if you buy a new phone, that increases the overall cost in that
Sure.
line item. So 5,000, I projected 8,000 for this year, just looking at what we spent in 2023.
Gotcha.
And a lot of times, sometimes something will come up towards the end of the year that maybe we have to spend it on that. And so I'm ultra conservative when it comes to those types of things and just assume that we're going to spend that additional fund. But
Okay.
we can certainly
Thanks.
get more clarification on that too.
Are we still paying the Rotary Club? Are we actually still paying them? The Rotary Club? I just now noticed that in the expanded sheet here. Well, there. We can cut that $600 expense. Cutting the little ones. There you go, Nick.
Any other-
Right, not that one. At least we shouldn't be paying them. I don't know. Okay.
Any other questions with administration?
Cleaning some of those little ones up.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'll be talking about municipal court. Overall, municipal court is flat. They do have a little bit of money in there for some extra equipment. But overall, personnel is in line with the other personnel costs. Happy to answer any other questions. Of course, you never know. There might be legislation that impacts municipal court operations. I'm hoping for not, but that has happened to us in years past.
That one may get the speed award tonight. There we go. This one should be a little bit longer. Now we're getting to the big spenders here.
Yeah, and then they throw the rookie up first. Let me see, salary-wise, we're looking at about a 9% increase. I can't say that for certain because we haven't had our contract negotiations yet. As you all know, we're looking at contract negotiations for the for the next year, some of the major spending things, like the professional services, I added in the GMT ground emergency transport grant. We twice in the last 2 years we've had to come back and ask for a budget amendment to pay for that. Why it wasn't raised up before, I don't know, but the reason that we're spending that is we actually get that back twofold. So it's a wash, but it comes back. So I actually raised it to what we actually spend instead of asking for the extra money every year. So the other things, one of the other major or couple things, we did lower some uniform expense by about 10%. And one of the other major thing was vehicle maintenance. We are at the end of the cycle for a couple of our large trucks, and our vehicle maintenance has gotten outrageous over the last 2 years. We're looking at a 25% increase for next year. Right now, we're projected to be almost 50%, about 25% more than that. So that was one of the things that we did. Couple of the major capital things, we do PPE. We have a life cycle of 10 years for each set of PPE that each individual has. They have 2 sets of PPE so that when one gets dirty, they can wash it and they have another one to wear at that time. We have a program in place, we replace them every 5 years. So it's a 3-year program. Over the next 3 years, we'll buy 18 sets of gear for 18 people, then we'll buy 18 sets more, and then anyway, over 3 years, everybody will have their second set of gear, and they'll get rid of their old gear, and we keep replacing it. It's a program we put in place about 10 years ago. And I don't know, we have Lucas devices. We're going to buy 3 of those this year. We put them in each ambulance. We use them for CPR, more effective CPR. Instead of somebody sitting on top of you and doing chest compressions, they put this around you and it does effective CPR for us. Those are some of the major things that we're looking at. Any questions?
It's not a huge dollar amount, but just the percentage change caught my eye. That quarters maintenance line item.
I don't,
from
I was looking at
25
that.
to 38. I was just
I was
curious
looking
what's
at
in there.
that. I don't think the percentage change is right because the 24 budget is 36.5 and next year's 38. The percentage that was in the listing over here was it says it was $13,000, but actually this year's budget was 36.5 and we're
Oh, an increase of 13 would be over the projected.
Yeah,
and it's really only,
ended up
it's
at
actually
25 somehow.
less than, it's about $1,300 instead of 13,000.
Okay, so that amended budget
Yeah,
is probably.
I think it's a misprint. is what I'm
Gotcha,
looking at.
okay.
I will take that and just say that
Yeah.
that one's my responsibility. We go through and check these, and we do the updates, and so I was looking at the projected and not the amended budget on that line item.
Gotcha. Okay, so not a huge change there then. So thank you.
Oh.
Anything else?
Any questions? Any other questions? Seeing none, we'll move next door.
All right, good evening, Mayor and Council. A few of the highlights of the police department budget this year. We did realize some savings in a couple of our lines, and a couple of them went up, one relatively significantly. We do have an increase in our legal fees this year, as Mr. Nichols mentioned. Our contract with the Fraternal Order of Police ends at the end of next year, so we anticipate renegotiating that contract. So we increase our legal fees every time that we need to engage counsel to renegotiate with us. We did realize some savings in our computer operations line through the elimination of one of our computer systems that we felt had become redundant with another one, and then a reconfiguration of a connection that helped us out there. We're proposing eliminating support of the Clay County Investigative Squad. It's dues that we've kind of paid to them annually over the years for support of some of the functions they use, specific more to narcotics investigations within the county and support in North Kansas City. But as you'll see, the very next one I'm going to hit is the detention line. There's a significant increase in that, and there's a typo there also in the SBIs. If you're looking at the SBIs, we're actually proposing a $125,000 increase in our detention supplies. Probably 98% of that is for inmate housing fees. The sheriff at Clay County has told us at the beginning of next year, our housing per day is going to go up from what we pay now is $59.34 a day to $90 a day. Then there's going to be some additional first day costs, additional costs with video court, additional costs with transportation to, if inmates need to be transported to hospitals and stuff like that. So we're going to see some significant increases in that line. And we've been talking with the prosecutor and the judge and the court about how to try to mitigate some of those things. But in reality is, we think it's important that in North Kansas City that we keep criminals in jail and hold them accountable for their acts that they do here in North Kansas City. So we would really love support in that line. Our uniform line went back up again this year. If you track it year to year to year, it went down last year because we did a capital line improvement for new uniforms for the entire department. So we reduced our general line last year. This just brings it back up more to normal. And then also we increased our ask in the overtime line by about $20,000. Historically, we've been getting close to spending that anyway, but what we'd like to do with some of that extra money is actually do better with our training of our police officers. Right now, a lot of the training that we do, we try to do it on duty. We flex shifts, we flex detectives out of their assignments to cover the streets, and it's not the best system. So we've asked for some more overtime money to try to accomplish training, dedicated training time. So I wasn't necessarily prepared to talk about any of the capital items, but if you have any questions on them, I'd be happy to answer them, or any questions on our general line.
Sorry, just pure curiosity, and I know you said the capital items were a little further out, but I saw it looked like the animal shelter was somewhere in the long-term plan. I was just curious if we had what year that might be falling into.
I would have loved to see it this year. I think we need to do a little bit more work on preparing to see what our true options are with the animal control function. And whether it be a new building, whether it be rehabbing the building that we have, I just didn't feel like we had enough time to really throw that into this year's budget. So I'd anticipate us coming back next year for that ask.
Oh, cool. Right, just,
Right now, it's
doesn't show you what year, so.
Right now, it's slotted in 2026.
Councilmember Saber.
The condition for the animal shelter is really pretty bad at this point. I would hope we can actually entertain moving that up and through us, if you can come up with a proposal to move that up much beyond next year, much sooner if necessary.
Yes, sir.
That way, because it's in bad shape.
Yes, sir.
And so what's the budgeted amount, although it is fiscal year 26? That's just a rehab of the current facility. Is that what the 2.5 is estimating?
No, that's an estimate on a new facility.
Okay. Yeah. Like a ground up building it. Okay. Not even like okay. Got it. 2.5. Further. None.
Thank you.
There you go. Public Works and associated funds.
Okay. I always hate following Kevin. He's very clear and concise, and I feel like I'm always all over the place. But so Public Works has 4 divisions: buildings and grounds, transportation, water, and then WPC. WPC is you can think of that as storm sewer and sanitary sewer. So I'm going to go through each 4 divisions real quick, try to make it fast. But I'm going to touch on kind of our expenditures in the operations budget in those divisions, and then on the capital, just a few of the capital and expenditures and the operations. There's a lot of lines here, so I'll try to make it fast. In buildings and grounds, one of the big increases you'll see this year is public space maintenance. We went from 42 flower beds to 103 flower beds in the downtown area with the new streetscape project. So we're looking at a lot more maintenance, a lot of more attention to that area. We noticed that this year in this line, and we've anticipated that for next year. One of the bigger capital items in the buildings and grounds budget is a wash bay. So the Public Works fleet Actually, the entire city fleet. We're, as part of the National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System, we have a requirement under the Clean Water Act to wash our vehicles, fire, police, everybody. This building has a wash bay in the basement of it, in an area that is not going to go into the storm sewer, so we can't wash vehicles outside. After some more extensive review of our buildings, we've discovered 2 of them are actually connected to the storm sewer now, so when we wash a vehicle, that soap, that detergent, that oil and grease that comes off those things, that's going into the storm, goes right into the river. So we have to remedy that. I'm going to have to report on that this coming February to DNR, and we'll have to remedy that issue. So initially, you know, we looked out creating a new building, which is that 1.1 something, I think, in the Buildings and Grounds capital. I expect that to go down. We've been working with more architects, more facility suppliers, and looking at just adding to our existing buildings. So that was initial thought of we got to build a whole city fleet wash bay, but we can probably get that down. So I expect that in the final budget to be a much less number. Switching to the transportation budget, so traffic signals and street light maintenance has increased in the expenditures of the operation and maintenance fund. We see a lot of aging equipment here. You know, if a pedestrian signal goes down, we cannot get the parts anymore to replace them. We end up looking at a $15,000 bill just to replace the entire system. So we had a couple of those this year. We had a couple of traffic signal control boxes get hit by a car, different repairs that have to go to that. And then again, we just have aging infrastructure. So in the capital line, you'll see a $200,000 request to perform an inspection on the entire traffic signal system, mainly on Armor, but on Swift and also some of the ones that we have with Evergy. That way we can maybe plan for some more improvements, get that expenditure line down in the future, that move towards some new equipment. The water side, I did notice an error in our operations and maintenance in the water side under distribution maintenance. It says 30,000 right now. It should say 60,000, so we do have to up that. That line goes to a lot of parts.
Find errors the other direction.
I know that one. Go down one, come up on the other. That line goes to a lot of the parts for different valves, different fire hydrants and distribution tools too. So any kind of valve key or maintenance items that they need to work on the distribution system. There's a lot of different items in there for distribution, but this is one that's more towards smaller tools and parts. In the water budget, again, there's going to be a lot of some legacy projects we're working through. One big one in there is the lime feed system. So in 2016, there was a study on our water treatment plant. They looked at a lot of different ways of altering our process. A lot of it was altered with the water treatment plant project, but with the thought we would come back later on in the future and adjust our lime treatment system. Now that we're done with the plant project, but we're working through our water master plan, we want to make sure we're not looking at any kind of large upscale to the water system or to the water treatment plant before we commit the 3.5, I think now up to $4 million for the lime feed system. So again, just kind of working through the master plan and making sure we don't jump into a project too soon and then regret what we've done there. So working through the water master plan to fully understand what our needs might be in the future before we commit to that. So that project's moving into this 2025 fiscal year from 24. In the kind of along the same lines, though, the treatment plant project, we've seen a lot of increase in our chemicals. We had legacy pollution issues, which was kind of the catalyst for the treatment plant project. We went to a chlorine breakpoint chlorination system on well 1. That involves using a lot more chlorine, but actually now being able to use that well. So we have higher water production, but more chemical expense. So one of the items you'll see that's increased in water is the chemical line. Jumping to WPC, again, that's stormwater and sanitary sewer. So you'll see a lot of larger, I'll just kind of talk about capital. Capital in those lines, you'll see one big one in there. That's the replacement of the 19th Avenue sanitary sewer pumping station. That is an 80-year-old facility that serves about 2/3 of the city's sanitary sewer pumping. It's been a very good facility. It's again kind of beyond repair in some conditions, and we're looking at much larger flow with a lot of new development, and so we're looking at replacing that system. A lot of this kind of comes from the wastewater master plan, which is not completed, but as kind of some of those items roll in, we want to be conscious of the time that it takes to do these things and kind of start jumping on them as we start to realize that these are bigger projects coming down the line. So that's kind of very high level. Have any questions, please let me know.
All right, and that covered all yours. Where are we at? 7:45. Oh, there we go. Councilmember Saper.
Yeah, in the lift station maintenance, what's actually involved? Is that have to be totally rebuilt?
So the lift station maintenance would be in the expenditures for operation and maintenance.
Because it's going from 21,000 to 650,000.
Oh, yes, okay, I'm sorry, that is a big jump. That is actually for the stormwater pumping stations. So there are 6 stormwater pumping stations that we are responsible for the maintenance of via an agreement from the 1950s with the levee district. Historically, there's a electrical test called MIGR testing that you have an electrician come out, basically just kind of look at the system in a very high conceptual level and say, yeah, you know, it's okay. What we've been trying to figure out and price is the system, so each pumping station, and again, there's 6 of them, each of them have about 3 pumps. Each pump has a motor and a pump assembly. So we're looking at pretty big liability there for, you know, large capital items. These pumps are, some of them in Atlantic Erie, for example, they're the size of this room. They're very large pumps. To do a more extensive analysis to know, are these things going to actually work when we need them to? We actually have to pull them out of the building. So we've been going back and forth with our pump. We have 2 on-call pump maintenance companies. We've been talking to them. Hey, what's the best way to run analysis on these? And unfortunately, you know, the impellers are down inside the station. You'd have to pull the entire pump out, and so that's the cost of looking at that operation. So instead of just doing a very high-level electrical test, we'd actually pull the pumps out and send them to the factory. They can't do it on site. They'd have to be sent to the factory, and then have a full analysis done. Again, with the goal of knowing when we rely on these things to get stormwater out of the city, are they going to function?
I guess my follow-up to that is, how does that testing of them compare to the cost of replacing them?
The replacement, well, for example, in the sanitary sewer fund in WPC, we have to replace one of the pumps, which is much smaller than the stormwater pump, and it's $500,000 by itself. So if you're looking at a pump that's even larger, it's pretty substantial. So we're hoping we can maybe accomplish a few pumps with that price, and not have to get into replacement, although they are from the 1960s. Some of them are from the 1950s. So we're hoping we have, you know, good results of those tests, but it's still probably the most cost-effective way right now is to look at them from this lens and not a replacement lens.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Looking at the Public Works Administration payroll, the salaries, is this a typo? It goes down from 265,000 to just 64,000, but you have the same number of employees?
That's.
Well, gosh, I hope not.
If I may, that's what I was talking about in the beginning, where we took some of the salaries within the general fund and split them within the departments they actually oversee. So Anthony, for instance, used to be 100% Public Works admin, and now he's 25% there, 25% transportation, and then 25 each in water and sewer. Same with his assistant, Sarah, and then Chris Cooper, we split a little differently because he spends more time in transportation than the others. But yeah, that was the significant change there.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Not going to pick on you. You'd say it's been 25% equally on all 4 of those.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's kind of my day. It bounces around from each one of them, yeah.
Okay. And I mean, I got a lot more questions, but I'm kind
Yeah,
of
3%
for another.
police.
Yeah.
Maybe shouldn't,
Huh?
Maybe 3% should go to police.
Yeah, they already got a large percentage. I love them, but they already got a big They got a big ask already. Oh, Councilman Fitzgerald.
Two quick questions. First, I was thinking about those FTEs, and I don't want to open up a bigger cans of worms than it's worth, so shut me down if this will be a hassle, but would it be possible to update, like we have the FTEs allocated for the different departments, to update those for like the new reflection, just to kind of compare year over year a little easier?
Yes, looking back as we finished it, there's still 3 people in Public Works Administration, so that's how I was thinking about it, but we can easily split that out and make that same thing on the water WPC side, where there's been some, as Mike mentioned, some changes there to show that better. The budget does reflect those splits, but yes, we can definitely show that, and if you want, I can either print out new pages. We can definitely change that on the online budget. And if you want new pages, we can print those out and replace them for you.
Gotcha. I can just look online, but thanks. I had been seeing, I think, some of the same ratios didn't move the same way as Councilperson McGrone, so just help me. And then just one other question I had on the buildings and grounds expenses. I saw, professional services went up $25,000. We talked about a lot of that is the, landscaping, but just the description for that account says YMCA and contractor for landscaping. Are we paying anything significant to the Y out of that?
For buildings and grounds, we had talked about, and then this might be an adjustment that we need to make based on past conversations, but we had talked about how we were going to handle the YMCA's maintenance in the future.
Understood.
Is that still?
I'll touch on that a little bit with community center as well. No, that was Dwayne was talking about. You're talking about a capital.
No, it's just
It's
the line item.
outside services, professional services in the. Sorry, I keep grabbing the wrong tab. Buildings and grounds fund.
What page you on?
Oh, page 71 is where it says YMCA basically, and then the actual numbers on page 72. But the 71 significant non-capital budgetary items, bullet B. I saw YMCA. We've all been looking at that contract. I'm trying to wrap my head around where the pieces are, but I wasn't sure how much we had going through this department.
None.
Okay.
None.
That's easy
So that
then.
was-
So,
yeah.
thanks.
Yep.
Anthony's getting all the questions tonight. Any further for Anthony before I let him off here? There we go. Thank you. And where we at? 750. We'll keep going. Community development.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Community development is much simpler. Not really. So Anthony blamed me for a lot of projects that we piped down to him for the future maintenance, which is probably true. Over here, we have a 6.5 budgeted personnel that did not change. We used to be 5.5. Half of that was, of course, for an internship, summer internship, or year-long part-time. Last year, we added one full-time position to enforce the newly passed the short-term rental ordinance, as well as with the consideration of the number of long-term rental units has been skyrocketing. So all of those rental registration need somebody to process, and we will down at the horizon line that we have to inspect those. So that's what the position was for. When we added the position early this year, you might ran into the staff, Rick Landon, and he's been doing a great job so far. So it was my mistake. I did not added a vehicle for him at that time. So we've been kind of juggling and sharing vehicles internally for this past 6 months. And this is one of the reasons that you see a capital that's being added by me for $60,000 asking for a electric vehicle. With the considering that we actually currently have a vehicle getting to the end of the life cycle right now. So we're adding a electric vehicle trying to help out internally with the shifts over there. With all of that, I do have 2 other capital projects I want to mention. One is the very exciting comprehensive plan that we budgeted to redo our current 2016 one in this upcoming fiscal year. And this comprehensive plan, we're aiming to looking at it through a sustainability lens to try to help the city understand where we are right now and what do we anticipate for the future development and redevelopment in the city. We hope the community can lead this particular project through an intensive amount of public engagement. So that's one of the biggest line item you're seeing over here. And along with that, we will have a Safe Streets for All community plan that was budgeted for this year, but we were not able to carry out at this particular fiscal year. We cannot complete it in this fiscal year. We were awarded with a federal grant for $240,000 to conduct this particular comprehensive plan, examining our street safety particularly, and hopefully we can go after some implementation or demonstration funds. So that's another kind of companion plans that we're going to conduct in 2025. Other than that, I do have a couple other capital improvement projects, including the Hawa Shared Use Path. We did bump up the request for Hawa Shared Use Path with the considering to complete the both north and the south section. Most of you have been in the joint meeting with the Parks Board. Right now, we are requesting our Uncle engineer to continue the designing component. We have not received a finished plan yet. When that's ready, we'll bring it back to the Parks Board, and hopefully we can get this project going in 2025. Other than that, if you have any question for me, I'll be happy to answer.
Oh, okay. Before we keep going, we are getting ready to push 8 o'clock. Does council want to keep going, stop here, do a couple more, stop? We have, for note, economic development, interdepartmental, conventions, tourism, Northgate, One North, American Rescue Plan Fund, which should be a short one, communications, and community center. Okay. We'll see how much we get done between now and like 8:05 or something, which might be all of it there. I feel like I'm back to the conversation with 23rd and Swift here. I'll give you a little extension. You might get the rest, but we'll find out. Okay, then we'll go over to Kim, economic development, please.
Okay, economic development. This particular area doesn't have any large budgetary increases. The Armour Road redevelopment area, this is kind of an area that once that project starts moving forward, we do anticipate some work done on that. Happy to answer any questions on economic development. What will be next is we'll bump over to Nick for interdepartmental, and then it'll come back to me for the next three.
Interdepartmental is, it's budgeted in the general fund, and it's technically part of administration, but it is a catch-all. We budget a lot of the citywide utilities in this fund, our overall premium payments that we can't just allocate to a specific department, some IT projects, and then like some high-level HR type things, our wellness program, tuition assistance, and then some other things that just don't have a natural home within a department. A couple things that I will highlight that I mentioned at the beginning. Part of workers' comp is in this, but the bigger piece is our general liability insurance. That is a number that has just gone up significantly over, and you can see through the actuals. Over time, we get that bill in November. We pay it as soon as we can and allocate it amongst different funds, but a big chunk of that is housed in the interdepartmental. Other things that we have done, so other services, very generic in title, but that also includes the cold weather sheltering is in there. And what we've done is we've reduced that budget to essentially just be for cold weather sheltering. We did have some citywide training budgeted in there, but we do also have some of that covered in the administration department, and after going through and seeing some of the things that we've done, we've gotten some cost savings there, so we feel like we can reduce that budget and still do some citywide HR training through our travel and training in administration. So those are some of the main highlights. I'll also just point to electricity. We've had the changes to the plans from Evergy. So I've kept our, even though you've seen those projections, or those actuals be lower than the 240 that we have budgeted, 240,000 that we have budgeted. We're in our peak season right now, and so we'll see what that actually translates to for payments for the rest of the year.
Go ahead.
The employee wellness program, it looks like it went up from 32 to 50. Is there, what, I'm just curious what the increase there represents.
I believe part of that is the portal. So new wellness portal that we've gone through, I think is Navigate the.
Is that program used significantly? And I ask because we had that same similar program at UMKC for a long time, and we eventually ended up discontinuing it because it wasn't used as much as I think that some of the HR representatives had wanted it to be used. I personally thought it was a good program. I just wonder what the usage is compared to the cost. Okay.
Yes, employees get an incentive on reduced premiums for participating in it.
Okay.
I can get the percentages of what it's utilized, but it is well utilized.
So the
Navigate.
it pays for itself and then some, I assume.
This is our first year using Navigate, so I'm not going
Okay.
to say that yet.
Okay. We'll
get better data.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah, yeah,
All right.
yeah.
Thanks.
All right. Further questions on this one? Nope. Then we move back over to, I didn't check it off.
So I'm going to cover conventions and tourism, and then Northgate, and then One North. So I'll kind of hit, which we'll be talking about as Armour Road redevelopment area. It is labeled in your book, though, as its legacy term. So conventions and tourism, there are some new additions in this particular fund. Some of the things that we have been discussing and has been discussed with the city council is partnering with the county, the North Kansas City Business Council, and River North. As you recall, a couple meetings ago, River North came and asked for a more formalized agreement. Last time we did that as budget amendments. This time it is in the proposed budget, so that this way, when we go forward with a contract, it's already funded in this proposed budget. Another item is, so Clay County has a program where they receive 50% reimbursement through the state of Missouri. We are interested in partnering with them for tourism activities in North Kansas City. So kind of how that would work would be, we would like to engage with them for a contract of services for tourism and promotion, which would allow us to tap into their 50% match with the state. TBD, we don't have any details on that yet. It would require a significant lift on our end if we were to pursue that same style of agreement with the state for reimbursement. It does make a lot of logistical sense for us to partner with the county who already has the agreement, already has staffing to be able to do this. And what we would do is kind of personalize it to have North Kansas City more premier, and for them to do those kind of tourism activities, more of a promotional marketing on our behalf. And again, what that would do is it would allow us to get some of that state money for reimbursement costs. So we do not have all the things ironed out yet. We have had a preliminary meeting with North Kansas City Business Council, River North, and the county. They're interested. We're not sure how that looks, but it is something that we'd be proposing. And again, what it would be is it would leverage some of those extra dollars that come from the state and flow to the county. So that is in here as well as some preliminary funding for FIFA, which is another thing that we have been talking, the FIFA 26. When Kansas City is one of the host cities, we are ramping up to see what that looks like in this particular proposed year, and we'll have a better understanding of what those tourism activities look like in 2026 for your next proposed budget. It's very exciting, but you definitely need to be at the table and make sure you're an active participant so that we are in the planning phases now. We've had several meetings to kind of talk about what is the Northlands strategic plan on how to leverage those tourism dollars. As you know, Riverside is one of the base camps. We would love to see some of the individuals that are staying there come over to North Kansas City and enjoy all of our fine dining and brewery. So kind of getting an understanding of what that investment off of this tourism, there's a reason why it's in this particular one. We do anticipate having every hotel room pretty much in a 100-mile radius of Arrowhead being taken. So we want to make sure that we are geared up, that we have a plan, and that when everybody comes to see Kansas City, that North Kansas City is a prominent member of those marketing activities. So that is what is proposed in this one. Again, more details to come up. We do not have formalized plans yet, but we have kind of proposed some initial dollars to help with those activities.
Perfect. I got one question. I see calendars and formal communication in here. It just doesn't seem like that nexus, there's much nexus with convention tourism on our calendars. Seems like that'd be a general fund expenditure more than it would be convention and tourism.
You could look at it a couple different ways. One of the reasons why I believe it was always nestled in here is to take some of the pressure off of the general fund. There are some of those mailed activities. You know, what does convention and tourism mean? It means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. Because we do have such a high rental community, a lot of it is reintroducing some of those assets to our ongoing residential base. We have a lot of our festivals, meaning Arts in the Park, Snake Saturday, a lot of those things are advertised within both the calendar and the newsletter. I mean, we can absolutely move it out of there. It doesn't free up a whole lot.
Yeah, I mean, just as you kind of look and trying to get things in the places that seem most appropriate. I mean, I don't know. I just don't see that one. But okay.
No problem.
Let's get through these, and yeah,
No problem.
I'll continue on that one later. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. We'll shift now over to Northgate. This is a restricted fund. It is the receipt of the Northgate TIF district. We've kind of talked quite a bit over the years of what this is. It is, the Northgate TIF is performing very well, much higher than really back in 1999 when they began this project they ever anticipated this fund performing at. We are coming up, yes.
What page is this on in the book?
It is underneath other funds, fund summaries.
Okay, thank you.
Flip over to that.
166, thanks.
I am flipping. I don't have that on my crib sheet. Gaming, water. What is it? I'm being told it's 166 because I am not flipping well enough. There it is, 166. We are beginning some of the Northgate TIF is a long-term project. We are coming up on a couple of key dates that I'd just like to throw out there. Budgeting for us is both a short-term and long-term item that we think of. And in 2028, the Northgate Fund starts to slide off of the tax rolls, meaning that a lot of those properties will return to full tax status. And at the end of 2032, this fund will cease receiving any revenue. There is kind of a reason why we are bringing this up, is right now it is bringing in $1.6 million that is transferred to the gaming fund. Those funds will start to cease to exist. Right now, the gaming fund is being artificially inflated by these transfers. So when we kind of talk about making sure that we are being mindful about gaming fund and what we are programming in that fund, some of the point that we are starting to look at and have a better understanding is that fund will start to decrease in revenue because right now it is artificially being transferred out of the Northgate TIF fund. One of the things that Nick and I are going to start meeting with the Clay County Collector on is getting a better understanding over that 5-year horizon, how much revenue will cease to come to North Kansas City. So please, when we talk to you about kind of those long-term plans, and we start looking at how we are programming our gaming fund and the projects that come out of that, some of these dates, I know it sounds like this is really far away, but it's August 2024 before we blink. It will be 2028 before we know it, and in 2032, again, this particular revenue source will cease to exist. We'll now flip over to, do you have any questions about that? Again, we're hoping to have more detailed information projected by year and parcel. We do have that information, but because it is so far out, the numbers that we would forecast would be bad, but we are now coming closer to that time horizon. We'll be able to better project what those revenues will be. I'm going to flip now over. In your book, you will flip to page 169. And again, this is a proprietary, this is to, it's a restricted fund, meaning that those revenues can only be used for TIF activities. This particular area, it is semi-flat. We will have kind of a better understanding of what these revenues will look like, hopefully in the near future, and expenditures as well. Do you have any questions about anything you're seeing in these funds? I am going to hand it off to Nick.
Okay, so page 175 is the American Rescue Plan Fund. And just to recap, what we've done with this is we have to submit a report every year. It was recommended to us that because it was under $10 million, to say this is revenue replacement. But just to be safe, because they do change their rules seemingly every year, and we want to make sure that we have our bases covered. We have come back to you a couple times to allocate those funds. We have kept it in a separate fund just so when the time comes when we need to do a single audit, we can show them this is how these funds were used. So previously had a retention program that was approved last year for primarily public safety. That was $186,000. We've bought some diagnostic equipment early on. When we first received these funds, and then in this year's budget, we have $200,000 for a basketball court at the park. So we've transferred that money to the Parks Department for that, and that left us with approximately $536,000. We are proposing moving that to the water fund, and that would fund I believe a water main. So relieve some pressure on the water fund and help keep those rates consistent.
I can jump in.
Keep it going.
Communications.
Keep it going.
Yeah.
10 minutes over.
So communications, really the only difference is this year, in talking about it, we didn't feel we needed to transfer any money from gaming to support it. It has a healthy fund balance. Otherwise, the communications budget is exactly as budgeted this year and as we think it'll finish this year, with the exception of not transferring money into it. Slip right into community center, unless there's questions. Community center is a little bit different than last year. Overall, the expenditure, I say that, let me my page. The expenditures down right now, as I mentioned earlier. As everyone knows, that this is the last year for the contract. I am waiting to hear from the Y. I reached out to them last week. But as far as the budget, there have been a little minor differences, but I've thrown some more money in building improvements, building maintenance, reduced a little bit in the administrative fees and did away with the subsidy. But again, until the budget's adopted, until we hear more for the Y, these are kind of placeholders. If there's any questions on that.
Sorry, I'm going to go back in time. So if you all aren't prepared for this one, just next time or whatnot, but just thinking about how we account for the Y. Fiscal year 21 through 23, we have roughly $2.5 million a year of operating expenditure to this fund through the Y. We didn't have that this year, and then obviously not next year with whatever's up with the contract status. Do y'all remember where we moved that for 24? Why that changed? No, I'm going back in time, but
So we don't actually budget for that. That is the YMCA's total operations at that center. Probably some clarification with the auditors on how we do that, but similar, you'll see like, it's this way for utilities funds primarily, like, we don't actually, our actuals don't show the total capital that's spent, because that gets added into the capitalization and it's shown through depreciation expense, but those aren't actually expenditures that we make, just like the revenue and the operating expense they're not our expense. Our expense is usually the management fee and general liability insurance. We take care of that, administrative fees. There's cash out on the capital items, but it doesn't reflect when we go through the audit process. Those are moved into the capital account, and we show the depreciation in terms of actuals.
Gotcha. Okay, so those were effectively the Y, as a fund on their
Yes.
side operating. We were
Yes.
rolling them up in here, and then some kind of change in presentation with the auditors.
Yes.
So, cool, thank you.
We're done. That's the end of my list for tonight, right?
Yeah.
There you go. So now it is your time. In future meetings, I mean, we can add it a section every meeting just to leave it open for council to make comments. But yeah, that's, I want to thank staff for putting everything together. But just for my council, yeah, now's the time. If you see things you want to amend, add, subtract, it's now in your hands to take a look at and make suggestions.
Well, I would
We'll do
add,
that, yeah.
yeah, contact us, email, call, come by, any questions or anything, and we'll keep a running, as we've done, in past years, we'll keep a running sheet of the questions that we received tonight, but then anything going forward too. And then, just so you know, as we go forward, and maybe there's suggestions to change things, we'll track that as well, and every succeeding meeting, you'll see what the changes are. But yeah, call, come by, email.
Safer's got one right
Please.
now.
Yes.
Councilmember Safer.
For all of those thousands of residents out there who are watching this, you can bring your suggestions to your council member, the mayor, and we will deal with them and pass them on. And please, if you're out there, take a look at this. It's online, and let us know.
And come to Bounce and Balance, of course, as well. There you go. On August
July.
1st.
No, July 27th.
July 27th.
July
That's about-
27th, Saturday, 9 to 11.
I swear it says August 1st on the transmittal letter. Am I in last year's budget? I'm switching back and forth. I was in last year's budget. I was in last year's transmittal letter for that comment. I was going back to look at some previous expenditures, and sorry. Yes, say that one more time so I don't get everyone. The correct date is
Saturday, July 27th, from 9 to 11 a.m. at the Parks and Recreation Center. We will also have several pieces of equipment, a little bit of a touch-a-truck, as it were, and a bounce house, and Snow and Roast will be there as well to provide either hot or cold treats as you desire.
And,
There you go.
And kids are welcome.
a good opportunity to discuss things in an informal setting, as well as, well, every council meeting is.
And
We got
the
one left. We got
the
George.
EIC
George
will
knows.
EIC will also be present.
There we go. Thank you. With that, we'll conclude budget discussions tonight and move on to item number. I'm out of order. I know. No, I got it. We're going to knock out the consent agenda as the next item with the subtraction number 9. Is there a motion to
Move to approve.
Second.
Second. All those in favor, please say yes.
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 Any opposed, say no. Motion carries. We have already concluded item 13, which will take us to item 14. Ordinance terminating a tourism grant cooperative agreement between the City of North Kansas City and North Kansas City Destination Developers. Bill number 7863, ordinance number 9660. Any questions, comments on this one? If not, I'll take a motion for first reading.
First reading.
Second.
All in favor, please say yes.
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 Any opposed, say no. Motion carries.
An ordinance terminating a tourism grant cooperative agreement and authorizing and directing the issuance of a notice of termination to North Kansas City Destination Developers, LLC.
I move that bill number 7863 be placed on second and final reading and pass as ordinance number 9660.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Alvarez?
Yes.
Councilmember Clark?
Yes.
Councilmember Saper?
Yes.
Councilmember McGrone?
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgerald?
Yes.
An ordinance terminating a tourism grant cooperative agreement and authorizing and directing the issuance of a notice of termination to North Kansas City Destination Developers, LLC.
Thank you. Item 15, ordinance amending title for alcoholic beverages, bill number 7862, ordinance number 9659. This ordinance is a result of our last meeting. We had some discussion on this. It increases retail sales by drink, commonly referred to as tavern, from 18 to 25. Decreases special permit issued to retail sales by drink, permitting establishment to be open until 3 a.m. from 3 to 2. Increases the retail sales by drink with at least 50% in food sales, restaurant, bar from 22 to 30 authorized. And no action was desired on the full original package sale, so that is not in the ordinance. So, is there a motion for
First reading.
Second.
Second, all in favor, please say yes.
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 Any opposed, say no. Motion carries.
An ordinance amending Title IV alcoholic beverages of the Code of the City of North Kansas City, Missouri by amending paragraph A of section 4.12.380 thereof.
Now, to go fast, I will make sure there's no council questions on any of that. Okay. Now, sorry. No, sorry, not cut off. Councilmember Clark, please.
I move that bill number 7862 be placed on second and final reading and pass as ordinance number 9659.
Is there a second?
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Alvarez?
Yes.
Councilmember Clark?
Yes.
Councilmember Saper?
Yes.
Councilmember McGrone?
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgerald?
Yes.
An ordinance amending Title IV alcoholic beverages of the Code of the City of North Kansas City, Missouri by amending paragraph A of section 4.12.380 thereof.
Number 16, approving accounts due and payable by the city through July 12, 2024. Bill number 7864, ordinance number 9661.
First reading.
Second.
All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, say no. Motion carries.
An ordinance authorizing payment for certain accounts due and payable by the city through July 12, 2024.
I move that bill number 7864 be placed on second and final reading and pass as ordinance number 9661.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Alvarez?
Yes.
Councilmember Clark?
Yes.
Councilmember Saper?
Yes.
Councilmember McGrone?
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgerald?
Yes.
An ordinance authorizing payment for certain accounts due and payable by the city through July 12, 2024.
Number 17, staff comments.
All right, we have the items in the packet tonight. Items of note: strategic plan status, grant tracker, the monthly income report, Northland Assistance Center monthly report, and then the YMCA Healthy Citizen. If there's any questions about those, otherwise I believe Shu and Dan have some staff comments to add, and then I'll follow up with one.
Good evening again.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Staff has received a request from Screenland to extend their short-term conditional use permit regarding to the re-roofing project from July the 17th to July the 24th due to the weather. So initially, this short-term conditional use permit was approved on the July 2nd meeting by City Council with the condition that they shall remove all the staging materials by 6 p.m. on Friday to accommodate the weekend movie nights. The same condition shall stay, and I recommend you to approve that extension.
All right, are we good with giving the go-ahead there? And I guess we'll take a motion to give that extension. That way we're all in the clear here. Is there a motion to approve that extension?
I move to approve the extension.
There we go. Is there a second? All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, say no. Motion carries. Extended. Boom.
Oh, the fire department. We wanted to let you know that the fire department has received a grant from Firehouse Subs for a utility vehicle that's used for EMS during large events. So during like Snake Saturday or different things at the park or down on the levee, it's a four-wheel UTV that has a cot on the back of it that we can bring people out of heavily trafficked places. We borrow one for every Snake Saturday right now from Liberty and Gladstone, and they're paying for the whole thing. So just to let you know.
That's a very good update. I always like those updates. I'm going to ask, is that on the grant tracker already, or can we add that if it's not? I don't think it.
It's probably
I don't
not.
think it was. Okay. I mean, just for tracking purposes as well,
Yep.
so we see that and can Always know that's on there. Thank you. Further staff comments.
I'm just going to say it one more time. I know it's been kind of hammered, but July 27th, Bounce and Balance at 9 a.m., Parks and Rec.
Not the date I say.
We want to get everybody out there.
Now I'm going to show up there and wait. Make sure no one shows up. Done? We good? All right, with that, we'll go to council member comments tonight, starting with council member Alvarez.
Okay, I just want to start off with saying congratulations to Crystal Doss on your certification. I think you do a great job, and you're always very responsive and to help any of us and to work with us. So I think you do a great job too. So congratulations on that. And also I want to say I think they're already gone, but thank you for, I think it was Corporal McFadden that came by with the National Guard. I think that was great that he came and was wanting to work with us. So, and also I did want to ask, is there a date set for the Citizens Academy coming up, or has that been?
So the dates have been set, and we are already full.
Oh, great. Okay.
So, yes, I know, I'm so excited. We will be looking at spring dates now that the fall one is full.
Okay. And when does that start?
The fall one?
Uh-huh.
Boy, I wish I had that date. They will be graduating the meeting right before Christmas. I do know the end date.
Okay, that's it.
I want to say it's actually October. Yeah. I want to say it begins in October and ends in December, but it is full. We had over 30 people apply for this particular session. So, and as the past graduates know, we try to keep it small so that it's kind of more of an intimate event, as well as we just don't have the meeting space for that many people at once. So we are looking forward to a spring edition.
There we go. We got several attendees up here too. Boom, boom. Did
Great.
you do this, Councilmember Saper?
Mike.
Have you done it yet?
What's happening?
Not yet. Not yet. He's in the next. There we go.
Oh, Citizens
You did it.
Academy?
Yeah.
I want to do it. It's too late for me. I want to figure this job out someday. I can't hear very well, so I'm going to assume you said Firehouse Subs. You could have said something totally different. I would have guessed wrong, but I reserve that for the police. But congratulations to Crystal Dawson. My hearing. Never mind. Congratulations to Crystal Dawson on your achievement, designation of professional city clerk. Of course, we love you. You're fantastic. Yeah, awesome that Firehouse Subs. That was a real great thing to announce tonight on the sneak. Just like, oh, by the way, we have a vehicle. It was given to us. Nobody says that. So great. Good job. Whatever happened there, that's excellent. I hope to never ride in it unless it's for fun. And thanks for everybody that came through to speak tonight. And that's it for me.
There you go. Thank you. Boom. Councilmember Saper.
The Equity Inclusion Committee is continuing to review and city ordinances, codes, chapter by chapter, to look at any issues that there may be in them and then bringing them to the council to rectify. Also, they will be at the balance and bounce, or bounce and which comes first? Bounce comes first. Bounce and balance with the table, and encourage everybody to come out and have fun and learn.
We'll have to do balance and bounce at a brewery in town.
Okay.
Yay, Crystal. Yay. You are very well deserving. That's fantastic. Thanks to everybody for your budget presentation, and please let us know when the spring dates for Citizens Academy are set, because I already have people asking me about this version, and now that I know it's full, I'd love to be able to steer them toward next spring. Yeah.
All right, Councilmember Fitzgerald takes the end here.
So I wrote down too many things to cover here, so I'll try to go quick. But congrats, Crystal. I'm glad to hear the Citizens Academy is up and running again. That's a great program, and hopefully we can get 2 sessions back to back full, it sounds like, maybe. Let's see, what else? As Councilperson Saper said during the budget session, anybody out there watching, please send thoughts on the budget. I'm more than happy to hear those, and I'll still be looking at it for the next month or two, so plenty of time for any citizens to do that. If I have my dates correct, the marijuana sales tax will be on the August 6th ballot, so remember to get out and vote.
There you go. Thank you. That takes it to me. Congratulations, Crystal. I really thought you were going to present Clerk of the Year, but we'll take this as well. That's a good. No, I know you put in a lot of good work, and always appreciate the work you do for the community and for me as well. So appreciate everything. Thank you. Now I'm going to have you read all these. In appreciation, I'll have you read 3 executive sessions here.
Consideration of a request to hold and recess into an executive session as requested by the city councilor to be held on this date on a litigation matter pursuant to Missouri Revised Statutes, Section 610.0211, and Tom doesn't need
Tom asked that no one makes a motion
found
on
out
this
late
one.
here, I found out late, I do not need that one this evening. I know that's going to upset most of you, but we don't need that one.
Well, hold on. Well, you've already read that. There's 2 litigation matters either way here.
Well,
Right? It's a litigation. Does it matter who it's
if
called?
there's 2 of them, can we have the
Okay, never mind. We're gonna do this. Let's just skip this one. Let's just move to the next. I'm not gonna argue this one tonight. There we go. 21. Item 21.
Consideration of a request to hold and recess into an executive session as requested by the mayor to be held on this date on a personnel matter pursuant to Missouri Revised Statute Section 610.021.
This one I will ask for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
And we'll call the roll, please.
Councilmember Alvarez?
Yes.
Councilmember Clark?
Yes.
Councilmember Saper?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith? Whoops. Councilmember McGrone?
Yes.
Bonk. Councilmember Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Let stuff go in your head and then you mess up. I'm doing it. Consideration of a request to hold and recess into an executive session as requested by the mayor to be held on this date on a potential litigation matter pursuant to Missouri Revised Statute Section 610.0211.
Beautiful reading. Is there second?
Second.
Boom. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Alvarez?
Yes.
Councilmember Clark?
Yes.
Councilmember Saper?
Yes.
Councilmember McGrone?
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgerald?
Yes.
There we go. With that, Channel 2 and the YouTube feed will cut off. There'll be no further public business or votes taken this evening. Thank you. Have a good night.